I'm Harmony from Harmony on Three Wheels. Today I was just going to try and do a quick video, on the mods and upgrades and stuff I've done to the bike so far. Right away when I got it, it had the seat on it, the passenger seat. I knew I wanted it, so I just had them leave it on there and paid for it. It had the seat back as well, the tall one that you can lay flat. I asked my daughter if she wanted that, and she said no at the time. But anyway, instead I ended up upgrading to the silver panels over the black or red or yellow. In hindsight, I would have rather put that money towards that seat back, or a seat back for her, over the panels. I should have just went with the black, but you know, hindsight. So eventually I'll be getting that. Let's see, and then I knew right away I was going to get the emergency brake lock, and I asked them if they had it, and they did, and they just installed it for me. It's not the best install. I'm not saying I could have done a better job drilling through that plastic. I would have made me very nervous. It is a bit chewed up, so I would like to replace it in the future with one that has the pre-drilled hole. If anybody's done that and has seen it, if it looks really nice, if you could leave a comment below, that'd be fantastic. I've only seen them online, you know. See if it's worth messing with that bolt at the top or screw, whatever it is. In conjunction with that, I guess, I did do the dual frunk lock from Sling Mods pretty much right away. Again, I think it's something I could have waited on in hindsight, but it is nice. Again, you know, it takes a little longer if you are on an incline, and I do like it. It was a much bigger pain than, of course, it let on Sling Mods. Bill Ramsier had a great video back when I did mine. I'm sure there's more since then. I didn't do a video on mine, but I watched his video step by step as I did it, and because of that I screwed up. Totally not him, it was me, because I watched the video beforehand too. He shows you, he marks it with a white dot where he's going to drill, then he pauses and comes back. Well, I paused at that time, drilled my hole there, came back, watched it, and he says I've moved my hole up towards the corner more in the front, to allow for the socket to reach and sit. And I didn't do that, so it was my fault. I had seen, like I said, I had seen the video. I should have watched it all the way through again before I started doing it, but I wouldn't do that with any videos again. Just pause and go along before I've watched it again and again. But like I said, he has great videos. He totally knows what he's doing. You know, it just was me. I messed up. It took me, I'd say, if I hadn't messed up, I'd say it would have taken me about an hour and a half to install it. It took me way longer because, like I said, I did not have enough room for my socket to fit in there, so it was millimeter by millimeter with a needle nose plier. A lot of language and stress later, and it was done. The next day I came out and tried it again, and it didn't quite work well, but it was just a matter of taking out the frunk again and adjusting the little nut there at the top. Again, Bill Ramsier's video shows you that in depth more than any others I had seen at the time, so he's got great videos, as do so many people. I love this community, you know, the Ryker community is so great, and just having people walk through what they've done, you know, gives you not only ideas for what you want to do for your bike and how long it'll take and how hard it's going to be, but what you don't want to, you know. I think it's a great community. You know, it's definitely a big plus to me for having bought the bike, was the community to begin with. Another thing I purchased right away, and I never drove the bike without them, was the mirror covers from Sling Mods. I'll put links below for any videos I have made on anything I'm talking about, and what it is, whether there's a video or not, and where I got it. I purchased these right away, and they give a beautiful picture, big panoramic picture in them. Sometimes driving along, you're like, oh, it's so pretty, you know, as you're driving. But my biggest issue with it is such a good distance that sometimes I wonder if I would have liked a little closer view better, because sometimes a car won't be there and the next time I glance it's like right there. But you're not staring at them, and they're in a weird spot for me. So if I were doing it over again, I think I would hold off on these, and I would try out the original mirrors, see how they felt for me, and if it felt like I didn't have enough sight distance or whatever. What I'm thinking I would have liked to have done is get another one for on the end caps, like they are, different rear view mirrors, and have a longer stem that they're on so that it could come out a little further. That way it's more in my peripheral vision as I'm driving rather than having to turn to see it. That's my thoughts on it. They're fine, they're great, they work. If you like the stock mirrors, they're fantastic. I did the rock form phone mount. I've had rock form cases forever, as I said in the video. It's been great. I haven't had any issues with it at all. I still have it in the same place I put it in the video in the very first place. I've never had to tighten it or do anything like that. I figured I'd have to tighten it every now and then. I have the Allen wrench in my frunk, but I haven't. I do still use the lanyard. Not only has it saved me dozens of times from dropping my phone, because you catch that with your pinky or something, but I just keep it on there because it is a turn to release it from the lock, and I push down to take it off of there. If it were on the opposite side, or even turn the other way on this side, it would be a turn up thing and I wouldn't be as nervous about it. Although it has never had any issues, it's never moved at all while I'm driving. The one thing I will say, there's a little bit of a learning curve to getting it just right. You fiddle with it for a few seconds before you get it lined up with the 4 little notches. And sometimes, not very often, I think it's happened to me 2, maybe 3 times, where you get 3 out of 4 of the notches lined up, and you turn it on there, and it'll click on there, but you can tell it's just not right. And it's a matter of just taking it off and doing it again. But this is made out of aluminum. It's got the extra magnet in the back or down here to help. It's been a really nice thing. I haven't had any issues with my camera that I'm aware of, and my phone is what I'm recording on now. I have the F4 Customs Windshield. It is big, but I like that it's clear. I like that it's polycarbonate. I like the extra wind deflection at the top with the curve. It hinders getting into my trunk from behind it just a little bit, but I can still do it. I can still open my trunk or my front from behind the sitting down on the bike, and put my gloves in from the other side, and then close it back up. So it's really not that big a hindrance at all. Let's see, one of the things, I'll just throw this in here for the heck of it. One of the things I have purchased on Amazon is this little pouch. It's a pencil pouch, but it's got, stay baby, I've got my tire pressure monitor and hand sanitizing wipes, my Allen wrench. I keep this little, I've got a pry tool, pin, this little screwdriver I got at Harbor Freight, I want to say for $2.50. And it is just fantastic. It was the only thing I could find at the time that would fit to take off that screw to put the dual front lock on, because that bottom one is really hard to get to. So it's nice and short, and it's even a ratchet. So, and then got some zip ties and stuff like that in there. Have this net stuffed in here as well. And then that just fits in the front real nice. And I have it if I need it. I will eventually get this the storage compartment that sticks to the door. And then I'm not sure I'll keep using this, but right now it works nice. It takes up most of the front, but there's still room in there. I've got a microfiber towel and a cord for my phone. So anyway, one of my favorite things I've purchased so far is the Providence water bottle holder. And I use that every single time I'm out on the bike. I have a drink with me. And it's expensive. I debated on getting it. I wish there were one for the left side. I don't believe this would work. Somebody had asked me about it. I don't think it would work on the left side. One, I don't think the bolts would line up correctly. And two, I think it would hinder using your parking brake. But I did not try it. So asking Providence themselves would be the best bet, I would think. The brake light flashing mod from Sling Mods, that was super simple. Actually was like it said on the video. And the only thing I would say to do different, and I believe it was the Am Ryker has a video, that was what I went by, not the Sling Mods one. Again, I paused it and did the same thing, but at the end he mentions that there's a screw on one side and a bolt on the other, underneath the back here. And so if I were doing it again, or telling somebody who was thinking about doing it, I'd say 100% do it. If you can afford it, do it. It's awesome. But as you're taking the screws out and bolts of the three that on either side, just take some painter's tape and stick them to where you took them out of, as you go. That way when you're putting it back together, you have everything right where it's supposed to be. Because like I said, the back one's a bolt, one's a screw. So anyway, I did the red and white strip lights. They are fantastic. They are not as easy as the Sling Mods makes it seem. The hardest part of it is getting your fingers around the well to zip tie them to the other lines that are there to keep them off the tires. And the instructions, or the sheet that it comes with, of the parts that you have set, and I believe Beth from Ryker Rides had the same issue on her video. It says it's supposed to have 4 different wires, but it only has 3. I think that's what it was. But regardless, you think it's not going to work, but then you've got more than enough wire. In fact, you've got to zip tie it down, and I have to make sure that it stays under my hood, because one little piece likes to stick out, just a tiny little piece of it. But otherwise, the wiring and everything was fairly simple, straightforward. The amber and red lights, I did do a video. My husband and I did that together. And if you are not mechanically inclined, I would say check with your dealer, see how much they charge first. If it's fairly nominal, or you can afford it. I personally would have rather had them do it. And as soon as we tried to take that wheel well off, I was like, yeah, let's just forget it, put it back on, we'll take it to the dealer. And our closest dealership is an hour and a half away. I definitely couldn't have done it by myself. My husband had to break loose those bolts, and he had to tighten them down again too. There's no way I could have broken those loose. Could partially be because of the tools we have. We don't have any super long handled wrenches, just socket wrenches to give me the leverage I would have needed. And it's minimal space in there to do it. So my husband had to do that. And then like I said, I would set aside an entire day for doing it. I know the video on Sling Mods is 12-15 minutes long, but it took us every minute of 4.5 hours for 2 people to do it. And yes, I ran out to grab some shrink tube while we were working on it, because they didn't have that in the package, and I ended up having to go to Lowe's and Home Depot. So I was gone for about 20 minutes to a half an hour, but I ended up getting the 1/2 inch by, I believe, 2 inches. It was a package of 2, and just cut one in half and used half for one side, half for the other, and it worked great. So you might want to pick that up beforehand, just in case it's not in your package. But while I was gone, my husband kept working. He didn't stop the whole time I was gone, taking the other tire apart and getting things prepped. So it was not lost time as far as working on the bike. So let's see. They're fantastic once they're in. If you can get through that pain and frustration of having this much room to work, instead of on sling mods, it looked like they put practically the whole wheel well up on top of the front end of the bike. We couldn't figure out how to do that, and with all the wiring connected to it, we weren't going to jerk it around a lot. So, and I know, again, Bill Ramsier has a video he did. If you're comfortable taking your tire off, that may be easier for you that way. I definitely would not be comfortable taking my tire off. I did try buying one of those Throttle, what are they called? Just the little paddle that you hook onto your handle here, and you push on it. Just goes on your palm, and you push down, and it's supposed to be able to flex your fingers easier and everything. It did not work for me. It didn't work for my husband on his motorcycle. It was just a cheap one off Amazon. I think it was like $7. But I don't know if it was just a little too tight for this, or a lot of it had to do with the grooves that are in the grips, and I couldn't get it at the right spot. It was either up too high or down too low, and it just made me feel like I was losing control starting out, that I would, you know, a little bit of that control that I want to have when I'm starting out, because this thing will go fast. So I won't be using that. If you've used them in the past and you like them, I'm sure there's no reason not to, but for me it did not work. One of the things I purchased, and I do absolutely love it, it has turned out to be exactly what I was hoping, key cover. And I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. It makes it about half again as long as the key actually is, including the little bubble thing at the end. And it makes it a little thicker. It's kind of cool looking. It's basically a plastic like the key is what it feels like. And anyway, it does stick out. However, it doesn't touch my leg. Like, I can press my leg super hard and I'll feel it, like, because I know it's there. But even if I had to grip it as hard as I would have to maneuver really fast, I'd get a way bigger bruise from the Providence cup holder than I would from this, because I don't think I would even get a bruise. Okay, here I am. I'm sitting on the bike with my feet on the foot pegs and my key connected to my pants. I just plug it in here, and that's how it looks. It sticks out, and you know, turn it whatever way you want, but sticks out enough where if I go like this, I can feel it, but it moves enough that it doesn't jab my leg. If you have it like this, you can only feel the key ring, really. You can't feel the key at all. It doesn't touch my leg. So yeah, it sticks out slightly, but you don't see it, you know, past any of this stuff. It's expensive, but I believe it has went down a couple dollars since I purchased it. But it has definitely done exactly what I was hoping for, with having it on the lanyard and not leaving my key in my bike at all. The retractable ID holder I got so far has held up really well. This is still the first one that I put on there. And like I said, I put this on. This was something I had separate. But I just clip it here to my belt, and then I pull it out and I plug it into the bike. And then when I forget to take my key out, I stand up and it either pops off or keeps me depending on how fast I move, you know. I'll feel it tug me before it pulls off. I've only pulled it off one time, and I was in a hurry and reaching up here real fast because I have put new vinyl on my bike again. I've been designing them and cutting them, and the first ones I had on, I loved the shape of them. I loved the oil slick rose gold vinyl I used, but it didn't stick to the plastic of the bike very well at all, so I was replacing pieces a lot. So I'm trying different vinyls now, and I've made some different designs, working on those, and I'm gonna start selling them for anybody who is like me, who I love the look of the bike black, just solid black is super cool. But for me, I need color in my life. And so I do not feel comfortable putting it on the painted plastic yet, just because this is a permanent outdoor adhesive vinyl. It's not a vinyl wrap. It's not something you wrap all the way around and heat up and get to stay on. It is a permanent adhesive, so I'm a little leery that it would pull the paint off when you take it off, potentially. It's probably not overly likely, but because it's painted plastic, I don't know enough about it. I put it on my cars all the time, no problems. But because it's painted plastic, I just don't know, and so I'm not gonna do it. And I wouldn't recommend anybody else to do it either. I'm still working on the pricing, but I don't plan to have it like overly expensive. Something you could change out every 6 months to a year if you wanted, or more if you're crazy like me. But right now it's kind of a flashy rainbow. It's definitely bright and you see it, which is one thing I like. I like my bike to be seen. It is short and everything. I'm hopefully going to have some new vinyl color options here soon, any day now. So that will be hopefully here in the near future, that I'll be posting about that on my Instagram and on my YouTube. If anybody's interested, please drop me a line. One thing I would like to say, if anybody knows anything about the STS brake module that lights up when you're engine braking, I know, I'm pretty sure it was Gramps Saggy Balls, which I'm sorry, but I love your name, posted on Instagram that he had purchased that had finally come in for his Ryker. I'd love it if he did a video. I'd love to see how that works. I'm a little leery with the clip, the way that you clip to the wires, but and where exactly, I have an idea of where it would go, but you know, as far as seeing it in person, how deep it is and how well it would fit and everything, I don't know. So anyway, I'm excited about that. That is something I would definitely like to get in the very near future. I'm just debating on whether I would attempt it myself or just take it to the dealership and have them do it for that. If you're just looking at Ryker videos now because you're trying to decide if you want one, I know I watched a ton of them before I bought mine. I will say I have a little over 1,000 miles, close to 1,100, somewhere around there, miles on this now, and I got it the day before Thanksgiving. It's more fun than I would have ever imagined. It really is. The first time I took it out for a ride just around my neighborhood, I got up to 9 miles an hour to begin with, and I felt like I was on the best amusement park ride ever. Just, you know, having that fun. And I grew up on motorcycles as a passenger. My parents both drive motorcycles, and my brother had a motorcycle. But I'm just not, I'm not coordinated enough to do the shifting and the braking and all that. I just don't want to have to worry about that. So I liked the spiders when I saw them when they came out. But just the look of this just had me at the get-go. I just love the look of it. I love the customization of it. That's not saying I wouldn't love to have an F3. That will be my next bike probably. But I absolutely love this thing. And, you know, going 80 miles an hour is just as thrilling as it was the first time when I went 9 miles an hour. But it's a lot of fun. The only bad thing about it that I would say is it does have some rust issues, and you'll find plenty of videos that talk about it. That's another thing I did purchase right when I bought it. I ordered the caps for inside the wheel hub that clip in, and so I put those on. I'd say I got them about 2 weeks after I bought the bike. They got to my house and put them right on, and I don't see any rust on that area. There are some connectors in the tire that have some rust. I've heard people say that this little bolt right here where you can adjust your handlebars rusts, and the bolt on the other side here where I believe it's the gearbox. I might be wrong on that, but man, that thing gets really rusty. That's annoying. And then the muffler, under the muffler is just gross looking. And the bike's low, so it's hard to see, but it's there. But a lot of people change their mufflers, and I eventually probably will put a louder one on too. So, I also purchased the Ryker Wraps hubcaps. I'd gotten the ones on Amazon, the Prescott ones, and they worked well for the front wheels. I didn't love it for the back wheel because it is smaller and you had to cut more out, and I just wasn't sure how long it would last. So I purchased one from Ryker Wraps, and they're fine. I didn't use the back of them because I do have the hub covers, so they don't work together, in case you're wondering. So they've stayed on. I've had them now for, I don't know, probably a month and a half, and they've worked fine for that. Oh, and I got the radiator cover from Bill Ramsier, and I love it. I didn't know my bike was going to come with a radiator grill cover thing. It's a 2020. I don't know if they had them in 2019. It didn't cover the little side scoops there in the front, and it was pretty flimsy, so we just popped that off and put on the one from Bill, and he's got the air intake covers now that you can get to match, and I'll be getting those as soon as I can. I don't love the color of mine yet. I haven't found that perfect pink, but it is pink right now. It just sometimes looks white because it's a very light pink. But it works great, and it has definitely kept things out of my radiator that I'm glad didn't get in there. And it's solid and sturdy and very easy to install. We did do the bolts. We drilled into it, and then I think we might have even put a couple of zip ties on just to be sure. But I believe that's everything. Happy riding, and thank you for watching. If you don't mind hitting that like and subscribe button below, that would be fantastic, and have a beautiful day.